Once again, welcome back after the break. Before the break, we listened to Mr. Don Davies and he told us about his family background and also why he entered into politics. So ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਕਿ ਸਿਆਸਤਦਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਤੇ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਓ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ So before the break you have quite a lot mentioned about what all you have done locally. Let's talk about federal parliament, where you go and represent the people. And right now, what actually have you done over there in the parliament? Have you brought some issues of the people over there and are you proud of those? Let's listen to what you have to say about that.
Sure. Well, before Jack Layton passed away, he made me official opposition critic for citizenship and immigration and multiculturalism, and which is a great portfolio for my riding and the Lower Mainland in British Columbia because we have so many new Canadian families, whether they're first, second, third, or fourth generation. And, I think one of the most rewarding things about politics and what we should be doing is taking the reality of the experience of people's lives and bringing that to Parliament and actually addressing those.
Right.
So 2 bills that I recently drafted and introduced in Parliament have to do with reforming our visitor visa program.
Right.
In my office, I joke that I don't have a community office, I have an immigration law practice because I have so many people coming into our office all the time with immigration problems. And one of the most common problems are families that are turned down for visitor visas.
Right.
Particularly from Chandigarh. Not only Chandigarh, but Rome, Damascus, Beijing have very high rates of refusals of visitor visas.
Okay.
Worldwide, there's about 1 in 5 visitor visas are refused. Chandigarh, 53% are refused. And these are people who are coming over for weddings or funerals or to attend the birth of a child or just simply to visit family.
Right.
And what I found out, of course, over the last 3.5 years is when you get rejected for a visitor visa, you just get a standard form letter with a few boxes checked off, no detailed reasons, and there's no appeal. You're just left with a refusal and there's nothing you can do about it. So I drafted 2 bills. One would require an immigration officer to provide detailed reasons.
Right.
If they're going to reject a visitor visa, at least tell the people specifically what the problems are. And number 2, to create an appeal.
Okay.
So that a person doesn't have to file again with a new appeal visa application fee, but they can actually appeal that and get another person to look at it to make sure the decision was correct. I find that there's a lot of errors, there's a lot of biases, there's a lot of documents that are not taken into account, there's a lot of wrong decisions.
Right.
And so I'm hoping, I introduced those in Parliament about 2 weeks ago, and I'm hoping the government will take a good look at those and pass them. It would help a lot of people.
What about the overall reforms which have been brought into immigration by the government? And they are saying that this was the need of the hour because the backlog was so much, especially the super visa. And then apart from that, the skilled category also, and people, there's a complete reform. This is what the government is saying, that we are going to bring in this reform so that later on the people don't have to wait much. What is your take on that?
Well, under the Conservatives, the backlog has grown to over 1 million applications worldwide. No, that was a problem they inherited. It was about 800,000 when they took office, but it has grown.
Okay.
Same thing with wait times. Wait times have been bad for a long time. They're worse. They've never been worse than they are today. So whatever the government's been doing has not worked. I think we all share the objective that we want an immigration system that is fast, efficient, and fair.
Right.
And I think we can construct that. I think where I part ways with the government is on how we achieve that. I personally think that it's time that Canada increases the number of visas we issue in the world. It's a demand-supply issue. If we're only going to allow 250,000 visas a year and you have 300,000 people who want to come, you're going to have a backlog. The Conservatives' approach is they refuse to increase the number of visas, and so they're looking for ways to cut demand. I say let's issue 300,000 visas a year.
Okay.
We have a declining birth rate, we have an aging population, and CIC, the immigration department itself, says in 5 years, Canada will be dependent on immigration for 100% of our new labor growth.
Right.
So that means in 5 years, we'll be able to, through people graduating from universities, we'll be able to replace the people retiring, but any growth in our economy must come from immigration. So I think there's a compelling case to increase the number of visas, and that'll get more people here in Canada. It'll help employers, it'll help families, and it'll help ease the backlog.
When we talk about the party federally, after the passing away of Jack Layton, whatever happened, it was a big loss for the party and for the people also. But after that, the party has elected a new leader also, and now the the steam seems to be going on, because just recently you won the by-election also in Mr. Jack Layton's riding also. So where do you see the party federally, and what would be your role personally in projecting the image of the party federally and locally also?
Well, there's no question that the loss of Jack Layton, as you put it so eloquently, is a loss not only to our party but to the whole country. And it's not been easy to recover from that. But in Toronto Danforth, Jack Layton's successor, Craig Scott, won with 60% of the vote. That's what Jack had.
Right.
So that tells me that it's not just support for one person, it's support for the principles and policies that the New Democrats are putting forth and that Jack so eloquently campaigned on. So I saw a poll recently that has us really at the same levels that we were at the last election. So that's pretty good, considering that we've been without a permanent leader for the last 9 months.
Right.
So what I expect is our new leader is going to go into the House of Commons and really present a very clear alternative to Mr. Harper, and I think that's what Canadians want. And what I expect is we'll make history in 2015 and have the first New Democrat government in our history.
Right, and towards then, what would be your message to the South Asians basically who are watching this program? You as a member of parliament, you are accessible. If they have any issues, challenges, can they approach you, and what would be your message?
Well, yes, I mean, as one of the privileges I have is to be the critic for multiculturalism, and I think it's one of the greatest things about our country is that we are a place in the world where people can come from all over, and we share our languages, we share our customs, our food, and we do it peacefully and with tolerance. And that's one of the reasons I think the New Democrats are the best choice for every ethnic community in this country, because I think our policies are the ones of the greatest compassion, the greatest tolerance, the greatest concern for making sure that everybody has a fair share of the economic pie. It's well known that immigrant communities in particular suffer the most economically when they come to a country. They experience poverty the deepest, credential recognition, the lack of progress on that, I think, is one of the biggest disgraces of our country. And again, I think the government has not done far enough as to what they should be doing on that issue. We need to be, I think, making sure that South Asian community and every community has the opportunities that we want for everybody. And that's something that I'm personally dedicated to, and I'm pleased to play my small role in trying to make that a reality.
Don, thank you very much for your time. It is a pleasure having you. In future also, if anything important develops, we would love to have you in the studio so that you are able to tell our viewers about what all is being done in the Parliament. Thank you very much and best wishes.
Harpreet, it's a pleasure to be with you. It's an honor to be on your show.
Don Davies ने ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੁੱਖ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਐਜ਼ ਮਲਟੀਕਲਚਰਲ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਕਸਪਰਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੋਏ, ਕੋਈ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਹੋਏ, ਕੋਈ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੋਵੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਉਹ ਮਸਲਾ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਈਏ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਸਕੀਏ।